Brandon Woelfel is a photographer from New York who's super popular on Instagram. He's known for his dreamy, bokeh-filled neon portraits. But I bet you're asking, how does one Brandon Woelfel? Well, I've got the cure for your woes. Get it? It's like a name pun. Today, I'm going to show you how to shoot like Brandon Woelfel. Yay! Okay, now before we get into it, I should say that you shouldn't rip off Brandon's style. He's honestly great, and mimicking other photographers for the sake of getting insta-famous isn't going to learn you anything substantial. Mimicking a style to learn the nuts and bolts of it to amp up your own unique take on it is the way to go. That said, let's show you how to rip off this talented guy. Things you'll need: camera with a fast aperture, conventionally attractive person, retro glasses, shiny crap, fairy lights. Alright, so we're gonna order this and then we're good to go. What was that? Yes? Oh, I'm Sweet Lou Photography. You need me to sign that? Oh. You take this. Here you go. Thanks, Amazon. Alright, well that was extreme, but we got our cool retro glasses and our fairy lights.
Hello, Blue, hey, listen, hey, watch out.
Quiet down. Where and when to shoot. So you're probably saying to yourself, Lou, where do you shoot these portraits, and when? And do you prefer Cheez-Its or Cheez-Nips? Well, urban streets, Blue Hour or later, and Cheez-Its, obviously. Urban streets because they have a bunch of neon and cars around, so you'll get a lot of bokeh. Usually Blue Hour or later because you need a little bit of that darkness and the street lights and neon won't be on during the day. And frankly, I shouldn't have to explain the Cheez-Its one. Shooting! Alright, you got your location, you got your props, your model, and now we need to shoot the thing. We want to shoot wide open. Whatever your fastest aperture is, it's time to use it. I shot on a 50mm f1.8, which gives me some flabbergasting bokeh. If you don't have a nifty fast aperture lens, don't worry, I'll show you something cool in editing too, but you should get one. Canon's 50 f1.8 is like $100. What are you doing? One of the ways Brandon gets these cool bokeh balls coming towards the camera is he literally dangles fairy lights from the camera towards the subject. So do things like this. Experiment with prisms, CDs, and more to get cool reflections, and make sure in doing so, you don't get yourself in the reflections. Unless you're going for some next level self-portrait, you don't want to be in these photos. Other than those little details, shoot these portraits like you would any other time, get some cool poses, incorporate the other elements, and go home. Editing. Now you have a bunch of cool photos, but they don't look very Brandon-y, and that's perfect. That means you're on the right track. So if you look at Brandon's website, you can see his before and after edits. And would you look at that? His before photos don't look very Brandon-y either. That's because a lot of the dreamy, luminescent look is achieved by messing with a few specific parameters in editing. I'll be using Lightroom, and if you don't have Lightroom, you can kinda sorta do the same stuff in Photoshop. I just prefer Lightroom. You can hate me in the comments below. Anyway, you're gonna wanna load your photos in and go buy some Brandon presets and slap them on. Just kidding. I mean, you could do that, but we're here to learn. First things first, basic corrections. We wanna have as even a white balance as possible. We want to lower the highlights and raise the shadows. After the basic stuff, there are two major areas you're going to want to play with in Lightroom: the curves panel and the HSL panel. First things first, curves. And who doesn't like curves, am I right? Curves can be a little intimidating at first, but the graph is actually mega easy to understand. Check it out. The lower left is the shadowy areas, the upper right is the highlights, the middle is the middle. One important thing is we're going to choose custom rather than default linear. Much like Memento, we don't want things to happen linearly. That was a cool movie. We're gonna raise the shadows here. We're gonna pop it up just a little bit, and then we're gonna add a point right about here before the first block grid so we can roll things in like a calm, beautiful waterfall of film fadey goodness. We're also gonna add a very delicate S-curve for more contrast. Take your time here, the curves are really the key to getting this look right. Okay, HSL time. So really quick, HSL stands for hue, saturation, and luminance. I prefer using this view rather than tabbing through them, but you can do it however you prefer. So what the f are all these sliders, huh? Well, hue is the shade of the color we're talking about here. Saturation is the intensity of that color, and luminance is a book by Woelfel. This is not a sponsored video. Jokes aside, luminance has to do with the reflective brightness of the particular color. So these sliders are going to help us hone the colors down so that we can get to that more familiar Brandon style so that people will smash the heart buttons on our Instagrams too. Bring your aqua more to the blue and bring the blue more to like the teal side. We're going to leave saturation alone for now. You can mess with those, but be careful because you can very easily make this photo look absolutely horrendous by overdoing the saturation. Under luminance, we're going to make a bunch of changes. We're going to roll off the red, orange, and yellow a bit, around the halfway points for each. You can play with the green a little bit to your liking. I found that messing with the green too much can do some really weird things to skin tones, especially if you're shooting on a Sony like me. You gotta be careful, you don't want your model to look like Piccolo, right?
Yes, 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 yes!
Namekians are beautiful too though, I will say that. We're gonna do the same for aqua and then make the blues a bit more intense and finally brighten up the purple and magentas a bit. And there you go, now you can clean up any kind of contrast to your taste and you can always sharpen up the images a bit or denoise if your camera spit out a noisy image. But I will say I like a little bit of grain in my image. Okay, cool. So I've included a preset in the description below. You can have it. It's called Sweet Woes. Get it? Good name, I know. I shouldn't have to say this, but there's always that one kid in the back of the class who's texting and doesn't think that the teacher notices, but the teacher literally always notices. You can't just slap a preset on a photo and expect it to be perfect. You're gonna have to tweak stuff yourself. See, like, check this out. If I throw it on the photo of the Milky Way, it looks like crap, right? If I throw it onto this portrait, yeah, maybe I have to play with the white balance a little bit, but for the most part, it should get you in the right direction. Extra bokeh. So if your photo doesn't have enough balls, you can go in and add extra bokeh with Photoshop. I recommend shooting your own, that way your photo is that much more unique. All you need to do is kill the lights in your room, get some flashlights or Christmas lights, and shoot them way out of focus. There you go, lots of balls. If you're super lazy, you can go on Google and just download some, but do keep in mind that they need to be royalty free. Don't just jack other people's work. This video is totally different though, I'm not. Now we're gonna drop these bokeh balls into Photoshop over the edited image and play around with the blending mode until they match up with the photo's lighting. You can also get more fancy and mask out the excess balls. No one likes excessive balls. Anyway, that's it. If you like this tutorial, subscribe and like and all that other shit. Or you could tell me how horribly wrong I am in the comments below. I don't really care. Bye!